Mr. Speaker, sir, the decision to revoke the FMR and fence the India-Myanmar border is currently surrounded by misconceptions and misrepresentations of the prevailing reality. The colonial boundaries drawn in 1856 after the Anglo-Burmese War respected the close traditional, customary, and kinship ties among the two bordering countries, that is Myanmar and India. Moreover, I think we should all know as a member, the FMR, which was harmonized and formalized in 2018 by the present BJP government, that is the NLA government. The government recognized the artificial nature of these boundaries and facilitated the friendly relationship with Myanmar. The question here is why the sudden decision to revoke it? To me, it's a $1 million question. Since time immemorial, the Nagas have been living in our own God-given land, in our own way of life, with our own traditions and customs, long before the birth of India, that is 15 August 1947, and Burma on 4 January 1948 as an independent and sovereign state country. Now, when you look at the history, Mr. Speaker, sir, Nagas, we were a free nation. We were never conquered. We were never defeated. We never were ruled by anybody. We were sovereign. This speaks volumes of why our forefathers are fighting for sovereignty. The free movement, from the beginning, both the Burma and India operated a free movement regime for the tribal communities living along that common borders, recognizing the old economic, social, and cultural ties. The Burma Passport rule of 1948 allowed indigenous populations of all countries bordering Burma to travel to Burma without passport or permits. They did not need any passport nor permits at that point of time, provided they live within that 40-kilometer radius from the border. So, when you look at it, it is Burma who has taken the first step for operation of free movement region, followed by India in the year 1950. India also amended its passport rules to allow the tribes residing in that 40-kilometer radius around the border to travel to India and stay for 72 hours, or to be precise, 3 days. Thereafter, after 17 years, on 10 March 1967, Burma and India signed a boundary treaty which delimited their common frontiers in detail in the year 1968. It took 1 year. India unilaterally introduced a permit system for traveling across the border, and in the years 2004, after a gap of 36 years, India reduced the travel limit to 60 kilometers. That is what we do today. Then, after a gap of another 10 years, in the year 2014, India proposed a formal agreement with Myanmar, and after heavy negotiations, an agreement of land border crossing was signed by the two countries on 11 May 2018. As per the agreement, the residents of the two countries living within the 60-kilometer radius of the border are issued border passes. Now we need a part of border pass, which they must carry at all times after crossing the border, which both the countries enjoy this freedom of movement through this agreement till date. The passes are usually valid for a year, and they can stay on the other side up to 14 days per visit. As per rough statistics, there are around 250 villages within that area and nearly 3 lakh population or plus within that 10-kilometer radius of the border who frequently cross the border through small and large informal and formal border crossings. This includes both the countries. For this very FMR, the two countries enjoyed friendly relationship and even trade and commerce prospered due to this FMR or rather agreement, whatever we call it. To our surprise, last month, January 2024, this was because the government of India hinted its intention to terminate the free movement region and proposed to fence the boundary between the two countries. Has shocked us all. To me, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is politically illogical.
I thank my friend and colleagues, Honorable NLA for bringing the subject to the attention of this Honorable House. Speaker, sir, as we have witnessed recently, this issue has become a hot topic of discussion, and particularly in our own state, we have observed that this plan of Government of India to fence the Indo-Myanmar border is being staunchly opposed by the majority of our people. There have been several condemnations in print and social media raised by individuals and organizations, and I genuinely feel it is befitting of this House to take up this urgent matter of public importance for discussion during this fourth session of the 14th Naga Legislative Assembly. Our Naga ancestors lived as free people without any artificial borders until the Treaty of Yandabo in 1822, which established the current India-Myanmar boundary. And eventually, today, the Naga family is divided and live in two different countries, India and Myanmar. This Treaty of Yandabo ended the First Anglo-Burmese War, 1824 to 1826, but separated communities with shared ethnicity and culture, including the Nagas as well as the Kuki, Chin, Mizo communities, without their consent. In particular, the Naga people were arbitrarily divided by an imaginary boundary line demarcated between the two countries, India and Myanmar. And this has divided the same ethnic people without their consent. This was the handiwork of the Britishers, and both the countries, Myanmar and India, inherited the British policy of divide and rule. As for the Nagas, we must understand that the land of the Naga people within Indian states like Manipur, Assam, Nagaland and Arunachal come to about 50,000 square kilometers, whereas the areas of Burma Naga consist about 90,000 square kilometers. Half of the Naga family resides in Myanmar and the other half in India. All the border areas along Indo-Myanmar are neglected by both the countries and remain backward with landlocked. As a result, the area became a safe sanctuary for all kinds of unwanted antisocial elements, which continue to exist in those areas till date. My humble suggestion is that both the countries' top political leaders work out strategies to transform those landlocked areas along the border by improving connectivity between the two countries, strengthening security posts and administration system in sensitive pockets instead of constructing border fencing. This I mentioned in plenary of NEC in 2016, where the Prime Minister was the chief guest to unlock the landlocked areas of the border area. Let me cite one example. When Nagaland state was created in 1963, from undivided Assam, the consent of the Naga people living in present-day Arunachal, Manipur, and Assam was not considered. Whereas, in 1972, when the present-day Meghalaya state was created, the Garo people were asked to choose whether they wanted to remain with Assam or be a part of the new Meghalaya state. The Garos decided to be with the newly created state of Meghalaya, and accordingly, they were placed under Meghalaya, and whereas this fundamental right was not applied in the case of the Nagas. Having said this, I must express my opposition against any further division of the Naga people by way of constructing border fencing in Naga inhabited area, particularly in present-day Nagaland. Speaker, the state of Nagaland shares 215 kilometers of international border with Myanmar, and the agenda behind the division of this border land of the Naga is precarious and unjustified. The issue of influx of illegal immigrants, like that of the Chinese, Rohingyas, etc., into India has no similarity with the Naga issue.
The communities living on both sides of the international border, falling in Nagaland, are having same language, cultural, customs, traditional practices, and land holding systems. In some areas, there are instances of people holding land on both sides of the border. On account of such close social, cultural, and economic ties, there is a significant to and fro movement of people across the borders in these areas, which is facilitated and permitted with certain restrictions by existing free movement regime of India and Myanmar. Speaker Secretary, we, in pursuance of the NLA notification, has also identified 7 entry-exit points on the international border and empowered the respective administrative offices and designated them as pass issuing authority in the year 2017. Later, another 11 entry and exit points were identified. Sir, now coming to the recent announcement of Government of India to suspend the FMR along Myanmar border across the state and also to construct a fence along the entire border with Myanmar has expectedly caused deep concern and anxiety among our people. We all know that the boundaries that divide us are not natural boundaries but man-made, and suspension of FMR and fencing will lead to serious disruption of the close social, tribal, and economic ties of our indigenous people living in the border areas, as well as denying access to many to their own ancestral lands. Speaker, sir, the State Cabinet, in its meeting held on 8 February 2024, deliberated on the matter, and it was decided to request the central government to continue the FMR and also to enact appropriate regulation and lay down process for movement of people across the border. In close consultation with the people inhabiting the border areas of the state, the cabinet further decided to request for suitable bringing the village council authorities concerned in the entire system of regulation of FMR. The state government has accordingly conveyed its key concern to the government of India and sincerely requested for the sake of the people of our state to continue with FMR and also to work out regulation for movement of people across the borders in close consultation with the people inhabiting the border areas and for bringing in the village council in the entire system of regulation. Speaker said, I conclude by stating that we remain committed to continue pursuing for an early and favorable response of the Government of India to our pleas in regard to FMR, and I also fully support to pass a resolution in this House in regard to this